You've been told to run the race, but nobody told you what that actually means. And once you find out, your next hard run will never feel the same. Paul wasn't writing poetry when he said run to win. He was writing to people who lived next to a stadium, real athletes, real suffering, real stakes. What he was describing, what the saints practiced for centuries, is one of the most powerful spiritual weapons you have access to right now. Let's start with a word you think you know: agony. You feel it at mile 2, in the last set. That burning, heaving, I want to stop feeling. Here's what most people don't know. Your English word agony comes directly from the Greek word agon, and agon is the exact word used in Hebrews 12 for race. The race and the agony are the same word, they are the same thing. So every time your lungs are on fire and your legs want to quit, you are not failing. You are literally inside the word the New Testament uses for the Christian life. The agony is the proof you're in the race. The Greek word for endurance in that same verse is hypomone. Most people picture someone quietly gritting their teeth. That is not what this word means. Hypomone describes a person who will not swerve from their purpose, someone who absorbs the weight and does not move. This isn't passive. This is immovable resistance. That's not a jog, that's war. Paul wrote to the Corinthians from a city that hosted the Isthmian Games, held every 2 years, right in their backyard. His readers could hear the crowd from their houses, so when Paul said, "run to win," he was pointing out the window. You see those men destroying their bodies to win a wreath that dies in a week. Do that, but for something that lasts forever. Then Paul said something that should stop you cold. He said he pommels his body. The word literally means to strike, to beat. Paul, the man who wrote half the New Testament, said he beats his own body into submission because without that discipline, he might preach to others and disqualify himself. The greatest evangelist in Christian history treated physical suffering as the thing standing between him and spiritual failure. Now meet Karol Wojtyla. You know him as John Paul II. You know he was holy. Almost nobody knows he was an athlete. As a young man, he became so known for attacking the most dangerous mountain routes in Poland that people gave him a nickname, the Daredevil of the Tatras. He said directly that every climb involving difficulty and fatigue is rewarded by the possibility of touching and experiencing God. He didn't separate physical suffering from spiritual encounter. For him, they were the same thing. When he became pope, he jogged in the Vatican gardens for years. He skied until he was 73, and he would secretly escape the Vatican, go incognito into the Italian Alps, and suffer on a mountain because he knew it was forming his soul. He wasn't athletic despite being holy. He was athletic as part of being holy. He told Olympic athletes in 1984, "Sports are not merely the exercise of muscles, but the school of moral values, training in courage, in perseverance, in overcoming laziness. Every hard mile is a lesson your soul is learning. The suffering isn't the price you pay to get fit. The suffering is the point." Here's the part most people have never heard. You can aim your suffering, what we call redemptive suffering, offering your physical pain united to Christ on the cross, is not a vague spiritual gesture. It's a targeted weapon. You can run your hardest mile for a specific person, a friend with cancer, a marriage falling apart, a soul in purgatory nobody else is praying for. The suffering becomes a directed prayer aimed at a specific need. You're at mile 4, your legs are done, you want to walk, and you remember, this mile is for her. You don't quit, not because you're tough, but because you're praying. The agon becomes intercession. That's not a metaphor. That's how suffering gets redeemed. And here's what people always get wrong about this kind of discipline. They assume it produces grim, joyless people. The saints prove the opposite. Those who knew Aloysius Gonzaga, whose disciplines were genuinely severe, didn't describe a dark man. They described someone radiating joy. Discipline doesn't drain joy. Discipline is the road joy travels on. So here's what we've uncovered. The word race is the same word as agony. Paul told people living next to a stadium to train like champions for something eternal. John Paul II snuck out of the Vatican to suffer on mountains because difficulty is where you touch God, and your hardest mile can be aimed at a person, a need, a soul. You came in thinking this was about running, but this is about what running can become. Drop a comment. Tell me who you're going to run for. Your suffering is not wasted. It never was. You just needed to know where to aim it. Now, go, run.